It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in San Luis Obispo County, and we are joined today by Fred Strong. He is the Mayor Pro Tem of Paso Robles in San Luis Obispo County. And as you know, sir, our state is in a serious hole when it comes to transportation infrastructure. As I understand it, and this is from, I think, the chief legislative analyst, California needs $59 billion for state roads. Locals need $78 billion for city and county roads. Billion.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, it's really an unfortunate situation, and Sacramento, although in special session on transportation, they haven't come up with a solution.
No.
So where do we go from here? Do we wait for Sacramento to come up with a solution, be it, maybe an oil severance tax or a gas tax or a mileage fee, toll congestion pricing?
Well, all of those things are important. And right now, transportation for the League of California Cities, which I also participate in, is our number one priority, transportation funding, because that is where the biggest hole is. Now, locally, we're doing what we can, but we have very limited capability. It depends upon what level of government you're at.
And let's talk about locally, because there is the ability for counties to pass their own taxing measures to fund transportation projects. Imperial County, LA County, Orange County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, San Diego County, they all have their own sales tax, half a cent.
And that is a sales tax for the entire area, including the cities.
Right.
It's a regional tax.
Right.
Rather than strictly like a county government tax.
I know Ventura County's looking at providing themselves with a sales tax. LA County is going back to their voters
for an increase.
An increase, or an extension and an increase.
Extension.
Actually, less for roads and more for.
Well, it's transportation. Transportation isn't just roads.
Of course.
Especially now, the state of California has redefined how our transportation general plan elements have to be structured for what they call the complete streets. Now, complete streets includes accommodating all forms of transportation. And that would be bicycles, that would be motorcycles, that would be carts, that would be walking, that would be any ways that you're going to travel.
So, sir, the question becomes, is San Luis Obispo, or even Paso Robles for that matter, I mean, Paso Robles could do it itself, are you looking at presenting to your voters a measure that would increase the sales tax, or, I guess it could be a parcel tax, it could be really whatever you want, for transportation funding?
At the region we are.
Okay.
At the city we already did.
Right, I remember that. What did you do in Paso
What we
Robles?
did is we passed a general sales tax increase of a half cent.
Was this 2014?
And that was, I believe, in 2014.
Okay.
And what we did was we promised that we would use that money only for roads.
And let's explain why. California, in my opinion, its requirements to pass a local tax arguably are counterintuitive, arguably. I mean, the way it works now is that if you want to pass a specific tax, you need 2/3.
Correct.
If you want to pass a general tax, it's 50% plus 1.
That's correct.
One could argue you should have the reverse, because if you know what it's going to be for, the voters can, you need less oversight.
You could do that, and also there are people who argue that we shouldn't have a 2/3 vote at all, because if you believe in majority rule, then it should be 50% plus 1.
Well, those are fighting words for Prop 13 advocates.
Yeah, that's true, and I was one of the county leaders in Sonoma County for Prop 13.
For Prop 13.
So I do understand that argument, but I also understand that in that case, forget one man, one vote, because what you've done is giving the no people 2 votes on every issue.
Well, with school bonds, as I understand it, sir, the vote threshold's been lowered to 55%.
55%.
I think that was passed in 2000. So have you thought about, I guess it would need to be a state issue, but what about lowering the threshold for transportation projects?
Well, the League of Cities also is advocating lowering that to 55%, the same as for the schools. So I think the move is that for those who are trying to move toward the one man, one vote threshold, they are trying to advocate that you're not going to get the 2/3 eliminated.
Right.
There just isn't enough support for that. But we might be able to get enough support to lower to a 55%, so that they still have a little extra control that we don't be spendthrift.
That being said, when 2/3 votes have gone to the ballot, they have been passed.
Oh, yes.
I mean, voters do tend to be quite generous. I mean, look, in Los Angeles County, a large county, arguably a progressive county, but in 2008, Measure J was passed with 2/3. That was Measure R, I should say. In 2012, the extension just failed, but almost got 2/3. So is 2/3 at least?
Oh, you can get 2/3 at the local level. Our region, which is SLOCOG, San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, is considering putting a measure on the ballot this November in order to become what is called a self-help county.
Explain that,
and
sir.
let me explain that in California, transportation funding that the state funnels to us, and I say funnels because some of it is state money, but a lot of it is federal money that comes through the state. And they will make it available to local governments through their regions on the basis of how much match you have.
You need a match. That's the key.
You need a match.
And the match comes from?
And the match can come from a number of sources. But they also segregate that money so that some of the money is available to anybody, and some of the money is only available to those who have passed what they call a self-help tax. They have become a self-help county. They have a specific tax, usually a sales tax, for transportation purposes only. And it is administered by the region.
So the measure that you're thinking about for November, it would need to be a 2/3 measure?
It would be a 2/3 measure, and it would be for the entire county of San Luis Obispo as the region. And it would be administered by SLOCOG, which is your regional transportation planning agency. And it would be very specific. It is planned to be put on the ballot if it goes to the ballot. We haven't made that decision 100% yet. But we have been crafting what we might consider to put on the ballot. We'll make that decision in June.
Right, but the question becomes, sir, is November ripe for a type of measure that you propose? I mean, look at the voter profile in November.
Well, we've done some polling, and the polling would indicate that people realize the need for the transportation. We do have some opposition, as you always do, but we haven't even put it on the ballot yet.
Right.
Right now we're crafting it. As we craft it, more and more people are saying, okay, I'm liking this better and better and better.
Yeah, where is the business community? Where is
the business community is
industry?
generally supportive. We had Chamber of Commerce come in and support. We had the Home Builders Association come in and urge us, yes, put it on the ballot.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, and we had the EVC is generally supportive.
The Economic Vitality Corporation.
Right. So we have a lot of support out there.
So
we also have the Taxpayers Association is opposing it.
Jarvis? Or the local taxpayers?
The local Taxpayers Association. Well, they're an affiliate of Jarvis. The COLAB, Coalition of Labor, Agriculture, and et cetera. They are kind of on the fence.
But COLAB is a group that tends to be right of center, not left of center.
Yes,
when you hear labor and ag, you think maybe left of center.
They're right of center.
Right.
And at being right of center, they're cautious, and they have recommended some things. But
well, that's actually, I mean, impressive. If COLAB, which is a very active group in this county, could come either neutral or in support, that could be a huge boon to the supporters of this initiative.
Yes, it could.
So are you looking for a half-cent sales tax?
We're looking for a half-cent, and we're looking for a 9-year period initially.
Okay.
And one reason for that, and with an oversight committee. We haven't made a decision on this yet. That decision is still upcoming. This is a consideration, and we've done a lot of the polling, and we're doing the final crafting right now of what we might put on the ballot.
What's the polling telling you?
Polling is telling us that probably about 63% are in favor right now.
You're close. You're close.
So that's pretty close, and that's without any kind of a campaign. Of course, we as a government agency cannot campaign for or against.
But can Fred do it himself?
Individually, I believe I can. We're still checking that legally to make sure just how far I can go as
But someone needs to be an advocate for it if it's going to happen.
Well, usually citizens come out who realize that this is needed and this is what we have to do. And why do you want to become a self-help county? That's an important consideration.
The key is you'll get the match.
And the key is not only that you get the match, but there are some funds in the state allocation process are available only to those areas that are self-help counties. Without being a self-help county, we're only eligible for a very small part of that state federal money.
He is Fred Strong. He is the Mayor Pro Tem of Paso Robles. I'm Brad Pomerance, Charter Local Edition.